If you love food and beverages and want to start your own small business, you have probably done some research into how to open a restaurant. After all, launching a restaurant is one of the most common routes to entrepreneurship. In today's session, we'll look at some of the basic guidelines for setting up a restaurant. By the end of this session, you will be able to conduct a feasibility study. You'll be able to understand the clientele, how to gather operational data, the different stages of project planning, the objectives of facility planning, and the various factors to consider for restaurant and kitchen designs. A feasibility study is an advanced assessment of whether an investment will be viable before any funds are committed. It is a research done to guide the planners and architects of the project, operations staff, and the owner at a later stage. The investor may commission the feasibility study to a public accounting firm, a market research agency, or a management consulting establishment. Most feasibility studies address the following. Firstly, the evaluation of the market and future trends. This evaluation includes demographic information of future customers like the age, the sex, the marital status, the number of children, family income, the type of employment, the place of residence, etc. It also identifies market segments such as housewives, business person, students, children, etc., who will support the business. It also brings out the positive and negative social, demographic, or economic trends anticipated. The evaluation of the proposed site. In hotel and food service business, the keyword over the time has been location, location, location. Even an average property will run profitable in an area where customer traffic is continuous. Such locations would be downtown areas, business and shopping districts, transportation terminals, etc. Such sites are expensive but could have major parking problems. Additional investments would have to be made for underground parking or parking towers. A site away from the main traffic like suburbs, highways, parks and heritage centers will be cheaper and with plenty of parking spaces. However, the establishments located here would have either something very unique to offer or large advertisement budgets to attract people. We also need to analyze the competition. This study takes an inventory of all competing establishments in the area. While all types of restaurants are a competition, those establishments offering products and services closest to that offered by the investor pose the real threats. The feasibility study evaluates some of these factors of the competition. Firstly, the location, the type of restaurant, the history of the establishment, past services, type of service, number of seats, type of establishments. The location is a key factor in competition. A competitor located opposite or adjoining to the proposed site is in direct and fierce competition to attract the customer. Locations elsewhere may not pose a direct threat as each can serve a different geographic area. The type of restaurant. It may nullify direct competition if the direct competitor across the street offers a cuisine or style different from what one is proposing. A Chinese restaurant then becomes no serious threat to an Indian restaurant located opposite to the restaurant. Each has distinct market segments. The only competition is posed when the customer in the location has not decided which cuisine to go for. Restaurants have managed to counter this by allowing aromas waft into the street. Coffee houses deliberately crush coffee beans to give that coffee flavor in the street, while grill houses may let the smell of charcoal grill capture the sensory imagination of the customer. The history of the establishment. The best way to learn is from the mistake of others. By knowing the history of an established restaurant, one may make proper and reasonable decisions regarding the property. Beverage service. Alcohol is always a good attraction and gives a better profit margin. Bars also provide an atmosphere. Bars worldwide are strictly regulated by legislation, which includes the bonding of foreign liquor, serving drinks to adults only, operating and closing the bar at regulated times, stop serving to guests who are tipsy, managing rowdy elements, etc. Type of service. This can also be distinguished element. A casual diner could complement a fine dining restaurant across the street, or a bar could complement a restaurant across the sea. Number of seats. Competition is also based on the capacities of the restaurant. A 12-seated ice cream parlor is no competition to a double-decker restaurant of 140 seats. Comparisons are unrealistic in such situations. Type of entertainment. Entertainment can be a huge attraction. A restaurant with piped recorded music cannot compare with one with a live band. Nightclubs have their own entertainment standards, which becomes the main investment. Such entertainment can range from dinner theaters to folk dances. The cost of live entertainment is expensive, but gives a distinct advantage. To counter this, some bars may televise world sporting events, which become an entertainment by itself to sports lovers. Others may hold in-house competitions with attractive sponsored prizes to attract customers. The feasibility study also evaluates the following factors of clientele: the market segment that they cater to. Those competitors who cater to similar market segments are a threat. Restaurants in business districts may compete for a narrow business lunch clientele. Then, differentiations are to be made from light luncheons to heavy ones. Some may cater to the health and diet crowds, while others may cater to formal business entertainments. When it comes to customer needs and habits, this can provide a tremendous competitive advantage. A family restaurant would offer economic meals, children's menus, seating for infants, and tabletop toys to keep children occupied. Some restaurants may have play areas with slides, carousels, electric trains, video games, etc. Restaurants providing for shoppers may have special innovations just for them, like tableside bins to keep shopping bags, or shop merchandising on the tables, and easy access to the shopping mall. Couples may want intimate surroundings. Volume of business can also define the level of competition. If the restaurants offer the same cuisine, the sheer volume of turnover can make the competition. Sometimes a competitor may be handling volumes much less than the proposed outlet, in which case the competition is unequal to really worry about. The average check is the average amount recovered from a single bill. This is dictated by the menu spread of the establishment. For example, A competitor may have a good spread of appetizers or dessert to increase the value of an average check. Other restaurants may not serve alcoholic drinks with the meals, which affect the average check that could give a restaurant a competitive edge. Dissatisfied customers of competition are always an opportunity to build loyalty to one's own property. Satisfaction levels can be ascertained by surveys of people who patronize the competitor or by visiting the outlet as a customer and evaluating the level of service. When it comes to value for money, customers are always looking for bargains. They look for more than what they perceive they are paying. Some restaurants may offer a free drink or an appetizer with each meal. We now look at the operational data that would be required. Firstly, the days and hours of operations. Some outlets operate only for lunch and dinner, while others may operate during office hours. Here is a unique opportunity to fill the other times by offering breakfast and tea snack service. Some restaurants have profited from a 24-hour service, patronized by late diners and night shift service staff. 24-hour service works well at transportation hubs like airport, railway stations and bus terminals. Others may benefit for being open during weekends and holidays when others are closed. Pricing is another strategy to beat competition. One can either offer the same prices with better quality, higher prices for the elite, or lower prices for the economy eaters. The efforts made by the competitor on promotion will be an opportunity to fill the promotional gaps. Some outlets may use the newspaper as an advertisement medium. Others may use the radio jingle for promoting their property, while others may use subway and buses to popularize their property. Some only believe in discounting, while others on food promotions. A study on the promotional method of the competitor can help one's own strategies to be unique. Chain affiliations. Of course, a franchise can give any competitor a big advantage by its brand name, economies of scale in purchasing, etc. The way to beat that is to time up with another international franchisor. Level of management or technical expertise. This factor distinguishes the success stories from others. It is the management, their policies, training, staff motivation, level of cooking and service skills that makes all the difference. The benefit of franchised operation is the access to specialists and technical manuals in fast food operations. The owners of the property can determine the competitor's status at times. A well-known family name can make all the difference. The composition can bring financial muscle, fame, and technical expertise. The operational ratios give an idea of the competitor's strengths and weaknesses. The attention that the competitor gets by the media is another competitive point to analyze. Some outlets may get publicity for contributing to environmental protection, while others to the welfare of elder citizens. One will have to find a niche to get positive publicity other than those got from special events and food promotions. The feasibility study also ascertains the type and volume of demand for both food and beverage service, the adequacy with which the demand is satisfied by competition, the strengths and limitation of competition, and the opportunities for the proposed site. Demand is determined by the sales figures. This is done with a survey. Sometimes information is available with public libraries, town halls, economic departments, etc., or by commissioning a market research firm that gets this information. Market research firms will also interview customers and get their needs and wants. They would also ask questions like their food preferences, amount they are willing to pay, how often they dine out, time spent on dining out, how much will they be willing to travel, etc. The feasibility study at the end of the day has to reflect the projected profit and loss statements over a 5 or 10-year period. Project planning is the beginning of the feasibility study when a decision is made to build a restaurant. At this stage, there is a checklist of issues to be determined: capital structure, selection of a site, the architectural considerations, the operational planning, and the business planning and strategies. Capital structure is the way a project is financed. An organization has several options to decide on its capital structure. These options are based on how much of funds are required, the degree of autonomy required, and whether the business can give the return on investments. The options available are the sole proprietor. This is a person who wants to go alone and has the requisite finance in his estimation to launch the restaurant on his own. Then we have the partnerships. A sole entrepreneur may decide that he or she may not have the full resources to finance the project and therefore identifies a like-minded friend or professional who would join him in the venture. Private limited company is one which is open to a few shareholders. It's different from partnerships in as much as they have limited liability, which means that the responsibles for debt are extended. There are two ways of raising funds: by borrowing or through ownership. Borrowings can be related to time. Short-term funds that is available for a year and less. Short-term finance is got from bank loans, bank overdrafts, invoice factoring, trade credits, or customer prepayments. Whereas medium-term funds are those that are available from 1 to 5 years. Examples are share issues, loan stock, debentures, leasing, commercial mortgages, asset sales, sale and lease back, bank loans, and grants. And then we have long-term funds that are over 5 years and share the same options given above as medium-term loans. All funds have a cost in terms of money and relationship. They have to be factored into the business cost to be serviced from profits. It is now established that the success of restaurant business is largely based on the location. The location must have sufficient thoroughfare and accessibility to generate patronage. Location must satisfy some of these criteria. It must have an attractive address that lends to the reputation of the restaurant. Some of the successful locations have been shopping complexes, shopping malls, business districts or streets, business complexes, entertainment districts, commercial districts, theme parks and tourist attractions, college and university campuses, institutions such as schools, hospitals, and government offices. A relatively new case of location is the petrol stations. The surrounding character of the location is important. It must not be close to factories, city waste dumps, or anything that may appear distracting and unsafe. People like to eat in friendly environments. Accessibility is a very big factor in location. Many restaurants have suffered because of this. People like to reach their destination in their cars and have adequate parking space in the vicinity of the restaurant. The lack of parking space has driven many diners to other locations. To counter this handicap, restaurants provide valet service nowadays. This needs to be advertised well to get over this deficiency. Traffic flow is important to business. The term footfall applies significantly in the success of the business. Restaurants located in remote areas have already lost business just on the basis of bad location. Roads with heavily commercial traffic can benefit from such business. The investors, however, are those who live in the nearby towns and villages to give attention to the business. Road development plans are another cause for concern. Many newly developed flyovers obscure the site when not constructed. Legislative provisions are something of importance. Town planners often designate restaurant sites in communities and auction those sites to the highest bidder. These auction dates must be kept in sight to capture the space. Many investors have built their premises in unauthorized spots only to receive notice and demolishing squads when they least expect it. When designing the buildings, the following questions need to be answered. How can the restaurants be made attractive to guests? The decision to visit a restaurant for a first-time visitor is made outside the restaurant. The decision is largely influenced by the attractiveness of the restaurant facade. What will make it superior to the competitors? Most restaurant owners know the importance of attractive looks of the building. One has to outbeat them in its presentation. What design will be apt for successful operations? Ultimately, the restaurant must be able to satisfy the guest's needs once he or she is inside the restaurant. The design must bring about free flow of guest traffic, ensure a reception area, a good coordination between the kitchen and service area, and the aspects of hygiene, sanitation, and safety. What design will reduce operating costs? We want proper storage areas for perishable, protection from theft and pilferages, and easy maintenance costs. What design will reduce project costs? Some of the least cost structures are vertical structures for multi-tiered restaurants, uniform floors. Sunken floors are more expensive. Straight lines of services like plumbing, electrical conduit, and gas pipes. Use of basement for support services like locker rooms, staff cafeterias, etc. Architectural considerations must subserve such issues as the expected demand for the restaurant, the possible menu pricing structure, the anticipated cover turnover, and the resultant profitability. The business must be able to give the owner a return on investment. Operational planning is critical as it ensures the smooth conduct of operations once the business is underway. It also ensures the way planned profits are to be achieved by making policy decisions that govern the operations in future. Important issues addressed are: what type of restaurants are we offering? This is answered by the feasibility study made and the market research conducted. There are many choices, including specialty restaurant in entertainment districts, coffee shop in business complexes, snack bars at petrol stations, or fast food operations in university campuses. The type of service is another consideration. So, the owner will have to decide whether to offer a silver service, pre-plated service, or silver service from the many other options available. The number of covers that must be provided to meet the profitability targets. The number of covers is largely determined by the size of the facility and the options it provides. Plenty of space gives better flexibility in numbers, but the cost of acquiring that space needs greater return on investment. Menu planning is the most important in keeping with the objectives of the restaurant. Menu planning will not include items with costly equipment requirements. Small kitchens can manage with some basic equipments like griddles, deep fat fryer, stove with oven, salamander, toaster, reach-in refrigerator and a bain maani to keep food hot. This is in addition to few storage racks for essential supplies. The restaurant can add additional equipments based on space and the menu offering. Systems and procedures that will ensure the smooth flow of communication during operations. An important part of systems and procedures are the food and beverage control systems, right from purchasing, receiving, storing, issuing, and consumption. Systems have to be developed to account for revenues. Human resources play an important part in operational planning. The two main questions that challenge an owner are: how many people must I have? And what level of skills must I get? The primary roles are defined by the stakeholders. The purposes of owners or the stakeholders are usually to ensure profitability, growth, survival, and image. Mission statements are a summary of key performance areas. Peter Drucker has clarified that a mission statement has the following: market standing, innovation, productivity, physical and financial resources, manager performance and development, worker performance and attitude, and public responsibility. An objective is a statement of specific, concrete, measurable activities and desired results. The purpose of objectives is to ensure and improve on performance. Therefore, the objectives have to be specific, result-oriented, verifiable when achieved, and specific in stating the time of achievement. The marketing plan translates market research into strategies and tactics. A target market is a group of customers to whom the organization specifically intends to direct its marketing efforts. Before one gets into market segmentation, they need to consider the location of the market, the size of the market attractions, trade and commerce, per capita income, and the local values, traditions, and habits. Once the segments have been identified, the next step is to prepare marketing objectives. SWOT analysis. The SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. This is a valuable tool for any marketing analyst to work out strategies and tactics. This is done of the total environment in which the outlet operates. The total environment includes both internal as well as external factors. A strategy is the art of getting a decisive advantage over competitors, whereas a technique is the art of maneuvering in the presence of competition. A strategy is required to ensure organizational compatibility, to match opportunity and resources, to avoid excessively small segments, and to avoid well-established competitors. Facility planning is the activity of designing the layout of the restaurant, kitchen, and stewarding areas. The design must take full advantage of space in creating appeal to the guest and a return on investment to the owner. This requires knowledge of preparing blueprints, kitchen and service equipment, and staff roles and skills. Before any facility planning can commence, there are certain considerations that are required to be kept in mind. Firstly, to determine the project team. The team would normally consist of the owner, general manager, architect, facility planner, chef, restaurant manager, purchase manager, and the financial controller. Next, we have to have the menu in place. The chef and restaurant manager will ensure this and keep ascertaining whether the plans meet the operational requirements of the menu. We then have to determine the type of service. The menu largely dictates the type of service. Fast food restaurants may want a casual seating, while fine dining may want luxurious furniture. The type of service dictates the serviceware needed to support the service. Fast food may want trays and tray disposable containers, while fine dining may require wine display counters, champagne buckets, etc. We have to set specifications of equipment and furniture. This is done through market survey by the chef, restaurant manager, purchaser, and facility planner of equipment manufacturers and furniture warehouse. And lastly, we need to develop a blueprint. The architect is the best person to do it, along with the facility planner. The blueprint is the architectural drawing of the establishment. When these considerations are in place, we then move to the actual planning. Some of the restaurant design factors. The restaurant must take full advantage of windows and view. This is the prime space for guests and can be an attraction for many restaurants. Windows also give natural light into the room. The restaurant must have least noise to facilitate guest conversation. The clang of pots and pans from the kitchen and street noises can be very disturbing to the guest. Soundproofing is achieved by carpets, double doors to the kitchen, double window glazing, and rubberized flooring materials. Temperature is important in places of extreme climate. Desert areas will need good air conditioning, while cold climates will need effective heating. Freedom of movement is essential for safety reasons. The restaurant must have enough aisle space for the service staff, trolleys, and busing carts. It is up to the restaurant whether to have display counters for wines, pastries, buffets, service counters, salad bars, etc. These also have to be factored in. Obviously, any restaurant will want to pack in as many seats in the restaurant as possible. The furniture must be such so as to be able to assemble into various table strengths. Fast food restaurants have high seats against counters on the wall. Some of the kitchen design factors. Firstly, we have cost. Obviously, the cost of equipment, furniture and fixture is dependent on the type and quality of the establishment. The cost must be responsible to be able to get a return on investment. This is possible by vigorous market survey, surfing the web, and by getting referrals from others. The space and what is put into it is based on the menu, which is the central focal point. If the menu has steamed items, then a steamer is essential. Or if soups are to be provided, then stock pots will be necessary. Food quantity and quality. Equipment must be able to meet the quantities of food being cooked. High turnover restaurants will require quantity food equipment, while fine dining restaurants will need specialized equipment. Fast food restaurants may have several units in a city to justify a central kitchen where items are prepared or semi-prepared, needing much less space in the kitchen. There are several considerations in the selection of equipment. The equipment must be cost-effective, durable, it must have guarantees for replacement, the spare parts must be cheap and easily available, technicians of the suppliers are available readily for breakdown, the lead times for procuring equipment coincide with the opening of the restaurant, the models of the equipment can be replaced, the equipment is easy to maintain and clean, the equipment must be safe, they should not have fire hazard. Utilities are the power, fuel, water and steam connections required to operate the kitchen equipment. Utilities are expensive and provided by the government or private utility companies. The utility connection must be easily accessible to the restaurant. The equipment must be positioned to access these connections without too many wires and pipes crossing the floor. Space is the most expensive cost and will continue to be so in the future. The effective utilization of effective space is the challenge to the facility planner. The facility design must be easy to keep safe and sanitized. Cleaning programs by stewarding must have access to every corner of the facility, especially under heavy kitchen equipment. A proper drainage system below the kitchen floor must avoid slippery floors. Exhaust system must take care of gases and steam let out by cooking. The facility must suit the service style. If buffet service is an option, then quantity preparation equipment is a must. The restaurant must have enough space to spread out buffet tables. Adequate space must be provided for vegetable preparation and storage. Too much movement, lack of climate control, and carrying heavy loads causes fatigue. The facility planner must address these as the ultimate productivity of the workforce is dependent on it. Noise is a major factor in the kitchen. One has to think of reducing it by proper sound absorbing building materials. Lighting must be bright to be able to see cooking and ingredients. Every government prescribed codes, especially while cooking, takes place. The codes prescribe grease traps, gas pipes in the kitchen, gas storage outside the kitchen, sanitation schedules, preventive maintenance schedules, and others.